along with Zach McGibbon. It's only been a couple days, but a lot has happened, Zach, in those couple of days. How are you, my friend?
Doing pretty good. Enjoying the lawn weekend that we have here in Canada, the Civic Lawn Weekend, and it's been hot, as you could attest to as well. In your area, it's also been hot over here. But I'm hot off of SummerSlam as well. I've got a lot to say about this show, so I'm looking forward to chatting about it.
Well, let's dive right in. I think when we previewed the show, if you go back and listen to the preview, I did get a couple of texts of like, look, you called Zach on the fact that he was tired and overwhelmed and needed a vacation. He was just not right. But that might have been you on the preview show. And I'm like, this is before I watched it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Everything I said was completely sane. And then I watched the show and I'm like, okay, I'm not full Jack Perry. Like that's rock bottom.
Yeah, that
like
was
that.
I can admit, yeah, that was a new low.
That's rock bottom.
Yeah.
So the bar is very low, but this is one show that I'll come into and I'll try and pat myself on the back for a couple of things that I was right on before you take me to the coals about some of the things I was not right on. But I came in with low expectations. I don't know. Maybe we need to talk it out.
Sure.
I think we need to talk it out
because I think that's a good idea, actually.
I have a lot of feelings about it.
Me too.
Not some of them are positive, but some are positive. And so
there's positives?
There's positives.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested to hear these positives.
Absolutely there's positives.
Sure.
All right. Well, I think maybe just going from beginning to end on this one is fair. I have some overall thoughts, but there's no point in getting to the overall thoughts until we go through it. So let's just start at the beginning. And the card opens up with my man Jelly Roll in concert. I was excited. I like Jelly Roll.
Yeah, he wasn't bad here.
You like Jelly Roll?
Okay. I'm not the biggest country guy, but I've heard a bit of Jelly Roll, and he's fine. He could be better. It could be worse. Like,
did you hear, folks? Did you hear? I'm not the biggest country guy from a guy who lives in the hick of Hicksville, Belleville. It might as well be called Hicksville.
Yeah,
and it's all country music all the time. It's like, hey, we're having a party in the square, but it's a country party in the square. It's a country walk. We're having a country fundraiser.
Yes.
Like, I know Belleville. You're in the country,
right?
So I'm shocked that you're not a Jelly Roll country fan, but okay.
I don't mind Jelly Roll. Like, again, as far as other country acts, like, far from the worst.
Okay.
I'm a Johnny Cash guy through and through. Like, you play some Johnny Cash, I will be on board. A little bit of Keith Urban as well. And
are you really a Johnny Cash?
Oh yeah, big Johnny Cash guy. I used to listen to it a lot with my dad. So I
wow.
know Rain of Fire and the Folsom Prison Blues, of course.
Have you ever heard a set, and you probably should, you need to go out and see him then, a set from a person that you would know, Terry Marcotte?
I've not heard a set of his. I know he plays music, but I've not heard a set of his, no.
So if you go and watch a set of Terry Marcotte's, I would say if he plays 15 songs, 11 or 12 are Johnny Cash.
Oh wow, there you go.
Yeah, that's why I don't go and watch Terry Marcotte. No.
Wow, are you not a Johnny Cash guy?
Like, at all?
What?
I actually think he's pretty terrible. But,
wow. Okay, there's the first hot take of the show, and not expecting that one.
No, it's not a hot take. He's not that good.
Oh, no.
And he's old, and a lot of people think old is good, and there's a lot of people caught up in like the nostalgia. But if you go back and listen to it, some of the old stuff's good. Some of the old stuff sucks, and people think it's good because it's old. It's not good, and that's fine. The best part about Johnny Cash is when he brought in like Willie Nelson, and who did he do the Highwaymen with?
Oh, yes, the Highwaymen.
He did it with Willie Nelson and two others, and it's escaping me at the moment. But that's the best thing that he's ever done.
Waylon Jennings and Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson. I knew Waylon Jennings too, but yeah. So that was the best thing he ever did, was he brought 3 other people who could sing better than him in to a group, and then so
that's quite the take here, Lee. I quite enjoy some Johnny Cash.
Speaking about, I said Speeple instead of speaking about people. Speaking about people that usually dress in all black. Let's go to the first match of the night. That's a professional segue, folks.
Yes.
Rhea Ripley challenging Liv Morgan. And I think that this played out pretty, like, if you go back and listen to the preview, just listen to what I have to say. Just focus on the words and go, holy crap, Lee was bang on. Now, who cares that Zach agreed or like he said something similar or that? No. Versage gave you some sage advice when it comes to what is going to happen in the future with Dom. And I'm telling you, the slick Rick Dominik Mysterio looked as good as ever in helping Liv Morgan beat Rhea Ripley and turning on Rhea Ripley. And Liv Morgan is still your champion. Not a fantastic match because Liv Morgan to me is not a fantastic wrestler. And so Rhea's then in trying to carry people. And I've always thought that she's really, really, really good at, first of all, Rhea's a star. And she presents herself and she acts and she's got that it factor. She's got the star power. She also has the ability with really good wrestlers to elevate a match. If she's in there with Charlotte Flair, I don't know, the WWE has a lot of other, like if she was in there with Asuka, maybe if I saw her in a really good feud with Io Sky or Kairi Sane or somebody like that. But Liv Morgan is not one of those people. So this was not a great match, but I thought if you wanted to continue a storyline, this continued the storyline fairly well.
Yeah, sure. I thought this match was, as you mentioned, below average. They just kept doing stuff. A lot of the worst of WWE, and this is also my thoughts of the show really in general, a lot of the worst of WWE came out here. They can never be subtle. Everything has to be explained to you like you're the dumbest, biggest idiot in the history of the planet. During the match, they tried to do the thing where they were targeting Rhea Ripley's shoulder because that was the injury that took her out a couple of weeks ago, right? So they're working over the shoulder and they do the thing where it pops out, but they can't just, let it be and let the commentary say, oh, I think it popped out. I think it popped out. They had to have Rhea Ripley go in there and shout, my shoulder popped out, having to tell you what was going on. And then they tried to make this big deal about her like popping her shoulder back in and like putting her shoulder into the ring post, and commentary's acting like they've never seen anything like this before. They've never seen an athlete try and pop their shoulder back in and go out there. They were putting this over as this superhuman freak thing. It's like, has nobody in this company seen a shoulder get popped back in? And then they did the spot again on the announce table. And then, as well, as you mentioned, Dominik Mysterio gets involved. That's another thing in this show. Every match except for one had some form of interference or run-in.
I know.
Oh my lord! They have multiple road agents there. Do they not talk to each other? Like, come on.
Focus on this match. We'll get to the overall.
This match. So, first of all, they do a chair shot spot, and Dominik blocks it, and the crowd boos. Why? Why did the crowd boo Dom? If Rhea Ripley hit Liv Morgan with the chair, it would have been a disqualification. And yet they booed Dominik Mysterio.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there and say they treat us like we're the dumbest, stupidest people in the world. And then 5 seconds later, you're giving an example of the people being the dumbest, stupidest people in the world.
I didn't want to say it, but you said it. So
if you're wondering why the WWE treats its fans that way, maybe, Zach, it's because most of the fans are that way.
Well, they don't help themselves by cultivating it. They just play into it instead of trying to, like... Anyways, so they booed Dominik Mysterio, right? And then he interferes again, helps Liv Morgan get the victory, and it makes no sense. Because during the match, Dom pushes Rhea Ripley out of the way to catch Liv Morgan on a dive. And so I saw that during the match. And yet, later on, he still helps Liv win anyway. Then they did the big spot at the end, the big angle at the end. It's like, oh my God, Dominik Mysterio is with Liv Morgan and blah, blah, blah. This was the worst way they could have started off this show. It was garbage, just garbage stuff at the start of this show. And the wrestling was so subpar. There was nothing in this show. Lifeless. The crowd wasn't there. They have to bring attention to the shoulder and nothing with it. Like, it was just the worst way to start off this show. But of course, everybody's going to talk about the angle at the end because they just book for TikToks and Instagram reels. That's it. That's all they book for. They book for moments. They don't book for anything in between. They just want the angles and the moments to showcase on the show. How's that for an opening match review? And we're not done. There's more on this show that I am going to just lambast on it, because the amount of people that have gone lambaste. My apologies. Yeah. I'm fired up. I'm fired up. It's hot here. I watched this show. The amount of people that are going to go out there and tell you this was a good show or a great show, I don't know I want their tape of the show that they watched. I would really love that show, because this show was easily beat the Australia show for me for worst show. Easily. This was so overbooked. Nonsense. Nonsense. Stop it. And then look, I appreciate, and look, there's nobody more that wants to hear you fired up and giving like this insane, I can't keep control of my temper take, because I need that Zach McGibbon more in my life. And the fans of This Is Wrestling need that more in their lives. But Zach, I'm going to put you in front of a television and make you. I'm going to make you watch the Australia show again. And you're not going to say the same thing as what you just said. You're just not. 55 minutes of non-wrestling. Nia Jax in the main event. Like, come on. Like, I know this is recency bias, and I know that you're fired up. So let's just get, look, I thought this match was not a good opener. As you said, the wrestling was subpar. As a guy, I will stick up for this, because they do treat their fans like they're dumb and stupid, because most of them, as you pointed out, Zachy, don't throw me under the bus like that. You
pointed it out that they're dumb and stupid because they booed a point where they should have been like cheering. Yeah, good move.
Yes.
Because we don't want Rhea disqualified. So good move. But instead they booed because they're dumb and stupid. But that's what you said.
I didn't say that. I just said that spot was dumb and stupid. Them booing it was dumb and stupid. I didn't say anything like that. Hold on now.
You made the example of they treat them that way, and then you provided an example of them being that way just seconds later. So that's what you did. So I will say, as a person that has dislocated and had their shoulder pop out and been in a spot, not in a wrestling match, but been in a spot where I had to pop it back in myself because there was no medical treatment where I was going to be for a while or that I trusted. I had to pop it back in. Zach, that is not a fun thing.
I don't imagine it is.
And to say that it's like normal and people should be normal after that, they're not. Now, I know that these are wrestlers and this is not even a real thing, and she didn't really pop her shoulder out, blah, 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 blah. So I get that. But if you're trying to sell that for anyone that's done it, so I'm watching it and I'm going, I know what it was to pop it back in and what I felt like when you pop it back in, you are not normal. You are not just, everything is better because it is popped back in. No chance. So I at least understood what they were doing. Didn't say I liked it. Didn't say it was great. But at least I understood it. And I don't think it was all that wrong. But for people who haven't popped their shoulders out and popped them back in and think that that's a normal thing, okay, like it's not. But okay, so I'm just saying I understood it. Not that
were you yelling in your match, my shoulder has popped out, it hurts, ouch? Were you screaming exposition at me as I was watching, you know?
But when that happened to me in front of younger kids, yes, that's exactly what I was saying.
Oh man.
So I'll pop your shoulder out and we'll see if you care, if there are like kids around or whatever, until you get it popped back in.
My point is the subtlety was just non-existent in this. Non-existent. Like the whole thing with wrestling is supposed to show off your physicality and tell your story through physical means, not yelling and screaming at me that the shoulder is out.
Yeah, fair enough. I understand, but those in wrestling, I think if you had that happen between Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, or like when Danielson broke his hand in the middle of an Okada match, right, that we were at, those are superior wrestlers that understand where they are in the match and how, like, what needs to happen for it to continue and it be great. But these are not two great wrestlers, and so I think they're trying to overcome that by having this in your face, we're going to over describe everything. But this match goes almost 16 minutes before Liv Morgan pins Rhea Ripley and retains the Women's World Championship, and now has Dom by her side.
Wonderful.
So the next match, I haven't read up on it because I've just finished the show. I'm going to, like, I did rewind it and like look at the time and then find it at the time, and I'm like, I'm telling you that Sami Zayn better be hurt. But Braun Breaker defeats Sami Zayn in 5 minutes and 40 seconds to win the Intercontinental Championship. It's just my expectations going into a show that I'm not excited about, but has Sami Zayn on the card in a prominent position. I expect a good match. I didn't get anything of the sort in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. No. Maybe there's a story behind it. I don't know if you know that or not. Your thoughts on a new Intercontinental Champion with Braun Breaker?
It was an incredibly fine professional wrestling match. What it needed to be, I guess, in the case of Braun Breaker. 5 minutes, you can't go that much longer. You still look green at points during the match, but they did what they needed to do to put the belt on Braun and get him over. It was a perfectly competent professional wrestling match. That's all I can really say about that. With the occasional green moment where it looked like Braun was kind of lost in what the next spot was going to be. But otherwise, I haven't read anything about Sami Zayn being hurt. I haven't read anything about, any sort of injuries from this match that could potentially make it shorter. I think it's because they know what they have in Braun Breaker at this point of his career, and they can't get him past a certain level, so they have to keep him in short bursts. And this is what we got here. Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn, 5 minutes and 40 seconds is what I've got on my timesheet. So
yeah, but don't you think that Sami is somebody that can carry anybody to, like, at least more than that? Like, well,
I know they had a match last pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it. These two had a match with each other that was longer than 5 minutes. In fact, it was 10 minutes if I recall, and it was a very uneventful match. And they're trying to push Braun Breaker as this unstoppable force right now on the same a la Goldberg. So right. I think they just booked it because they know what they have in Braun Breaker, and they know he's a guy that can't go past a certain length, and he's a guy that is good in short bursts. That's what they have in Braun Breaker.
Well, as I said in previous editions of this show, I really do think that every time I think that they understand and respect Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, then they kind of show me that they don't really. Like, they do for a certain amount of time, and then it's like, we got other people We both predicted Braun Breaker. This is zero surprise. I expected a better match. I don't need Braun Breaker being booked in a way of the Goldberg, because if people aren't ready, they're not ready. And he's had some time down in NXT. They're bringing him up. Don't bring him up if he's not ready. And if you're not ready to go more than 5 minutes with Sami goddamn Zayn on a SummerSlam card of 53,000 people that were there, if you're not ready for that, you shouldn't be getting the championship. So I don't have a lot of positive things to say about this, because in the future now, like I always, if Sami Zayn was defending the Intercontinental title, whether it was against Chad Gable, whether who else did he had a really good match at one of the PLEs. Anyway, when he comes on my television screen, I want to watch him. When Braun Breaker comes on my screen, I don't. So I don't know who is going to challenge Braun Breaker. If he's an unstoppable force, you're not going to put, like, to me, if you're booking him in a way that he's this Goldberg type guy, why would I believe that any mid-carder would be able to defeat him? And then why would I think that anybody that was like a top level guy would want to go after him? So I feel like I just don't like Braun Breaker, I think is what is happening here.
Well, when you're getting comparisons to Goldberg, you're not going to be endearing yourself to one Lever Sage.
No,
at all.
But and quick aside, and we'll go back to it. Why is Goldberg still in the news every day? Can you explain to me why I have to hear what Goldberg thinks about this or what previous incident? Like, what in the world is that guy still doing in the news?
Your guess is as good as mine. People want to chat with Bill Goldberg. And
no, they don't.
Apparently, well,
stupid dumb fans do.
I don't want to hear more from Goldberg. I get where his frustrations are coming from, where he never really got a send off, but you're also Bill Goldberg. He never 58.
Hold on, he never got a send off. He's been around for the last few years in ridiculous situations.
I mean more in the sense of like a Sting, where he gets a big retirement
match.
I know. Look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that's how Goldberg is viewing everything right now.
Okay, well,
he probably thinks he could do something similar to Sting, where he gets like a big send-off match.
All right.
He's trying to play it.
Folks, I'm sorry I brought Goldberg's name up. I apologize for diverting the conversation.
Look, I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I want to see it. I'm just telling you what he probably thinks. I don't know. He could be wrong. Maybe he's just like, you know what? I'll just do this interview and I'll chat and I'll just say my feelings and then I'll go. And sure enough, a lot of people want to chat with Bill Goldberg. Why? I don't know. But they do.
Look, I at least said that it was possible for this guy to win. You said no chance.
I said no chance. You are correct.
We both didn't want him to win. I wasn't sure on what they were going to do. I ended up picking Logan Paul to win, but at least I was kind of questioning whether they would go with LA Knight or not. With Machine Gun Kelly there and Michael Cole running down the fact that Machine Gun Kelly from Cleveland is this, I think he called him a thug at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan Paul, I thought, could he carry LA Knight? Does he have to carry a 20-year vet? And Zach, look, I went into this very biased and very negative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying my feelings didn't change. Okay?
Yep.
For 12 minutes, I didn't think my feelings changed. And now LA Knight is your new United States champion. I don't have a lot to say about this because I thought Logan Paul and Machine Gun Kelly and all of those people were actually put in fairly bad spots. And the only hope I have is for them to get the U.S. title off of Logan Paul because they have bigger aspirations for him. If they do not, then this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, there was interference from Machine Gun Kelly. I believe this was the third straight match where somebody's shoulder was thrown into the ring post and they worked the shoulder in the match. And this was also not the last time that they did that during this show.
Right.
So, again, you have 1,000 agents back there. Can somebody just say, hey, I want this match to be the one where I work the shoulder? Can somebody communicate with somebody? I'm not as low as you are on LA Knight, but I'm also not as high as others are on LA Knight. I think he is a perfectly average professional wrestler. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's great. I think he works perfectly in that WWE system. I thought the match itself was your classic, they've been building this thing with Logan Paul where somebody runs in during his matches or some member of his crew gets involved, and then finally the babyface in LA Knight is able to overcome the odds and get the victory and got the win. And the match was, for what it was fine. It was perfectly fine. There was the one superplex spot which people were blaming LA Knight for, but again, it's still Logan Paul is still, sometimes we forget with him because he's very good in the ring, but he didn't fully extend out on that superplex, so it looked more like a brain buster as opposed to a superplex. Biggest spot in the match. Machine Gun Kelly was there. I was waiting for Kevin Owens to come out and powerbomb him again. Maybe he can go back to losing to Eminem, a washed Eminem at that, in a rap battle.
Okay, look, when you said the match was perfectly fine, I just want to interrupt with one thing. And I agree with you. I did see that people were blaming LA Knight. I wish I wanted to kind of be with them on it. That sort of feels like it was just kind of a little bit of both. It wasn't LA Knight doing his best, but Logan Paul didn't extend, as you said. It was just two guys that maybe don't have the greatest chemistry or botched it a little bit. Like nothing huge, just botched it a little bit.
It happens. There's stuff that happens in matches that don't go 100%.
Yeah.
And we'll see. There is talk that Logan Paul might be injured. So they haven't said with what, and they haven't said if it was from that spot or not. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, even then, like you're taking a risk when you go out in the ring. You're putting your body on the line. Stuff's not going to be 100%. So that's the risk that they take. And obviously that spot, it didn't go 100%. They gave LA Knight the big win here.
But, hold on. I have a major problem. Okay. Can you describe to me, like, I don't know if you have it offhand, like in memory, but just verbally tell me about the last 20 seconds of this match.
It was the iron punch, if I recall, or whatever, the fist.
They called it brass knuckles, but it was a chain or whatever.
And then LA Knight got up, did his move, and then won.
Okay, so right there.
Yep, I know. I figured this would be something you would bring up.
Holy goddamn WWE! Like there's not a lot that gets me riled up like this one. Logan Paul. Correct me if I'm wrong. His whole gimmick and shtick is he has been knocking people out with brass knuckles, correct?
Yep.
You go back pay-per-view after PLE after pay-per-view after PLE, Logan Paul is using brass knuckles, and every time he actually uses them, he is knocking people out. He did it to Randy Orton and cost Randy Orton the title at that Elimination Chamber thing. He's used it to win titles. He's used it to win matches. But when he hits you, Logan Paul was a boxer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So Logan Paul without brass knuckles is a hell of a puncher. Yes?
Yep.
Give him brass knuckles and tell me a story for how long Logan Paul's been around now. Like a year? I don't know how long he's been.
I think 2 years now at this point. He's
but like more full time.
Okay, full time. I think a little over a year. Yes.
Okay, whatever it is.
Yeah.
All he's done is when he's brought the brass knuckles out, he has knocked people out.
Correct.
A la Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Randy Savage at the Wrestling Classic in 1985, a la Randy Savage winning the Intercontinental title from Tito Santana at the Boston Garden in 1986, picking up for a back suplex while the guy on top that's going to get suplex rams him with the knucks and then falls on top of him for the victory, and the referee never sees it. They do the same spot, and LA Knight gets right up. Are you kidding me with this?
The kill, the finish.
And I am not saying this because it's LA Knight. I don't care who it is against Logan Paul. Logan Paul is the best puncher in the WWE. Put something on his fist like brass knuckles or a chain or something else, and tell me a story for a year that every time he does it, people are like getting knocked out cold. You've shown me this over and over and over again. But Mr. Midcard, is able to pop right back up and just win the Intercontinental or win the U.S. Championship. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, that philosophy is an absolute joke. And nothing on this card made me as mad as this one. I don't like LA Knight. I don't care that it was LA Knight. I don't care who it was. You have told a story with Logan Paul and the believability of Logan Paul's punch with putting something on his fist. Imagine MJF hitting somebody with the diamond ring and them just popping up and then beating him for a title.
Yep.
Never happened.
And AEW would be rightfully crucified for that.
Oh, they would be.
Nobody crucifying it for this. Nobody. As you meant, they built this thing up for a year. And then he just gets up. I've been following this product. If I just joined in for a year ago and I'm seeing everything like that and it ends up like that, are you kidding me? And people have the nerve to say that that long-term storytelling, they have a perfect example of long-term storytelling here, and then they just blew it off. It'd be one thing if they did I know we're trying to avoid Goldberg here, but bear with me. When Goldberg speared Bret Hart on that episode of Nitro, and Bret had the jersey on, then he was able to get up, and then they showed, he had a steel plate underneath.
Yeah, with the armor. People have done that with like a low blow and they put a jock on.
Exactly. If they had done something like that, great. That's a perfect old school, payoff to a storyline. But they didn't even do that. He just got up. Like
yes. And you know what it reminded me of? It's another wrestler who other than Goldberg is probably my least professional wrestler of all time.
I was gonna say Brian Cage, but
well, yeah, Brian Cage doesn't have the cachet to be that high, but like Brian Cage is on the list.
Is it Ultimate Warrior?
Well, it's the other guy.
Okay, it's Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this reminded me of everything that I hated about Hulk Hogan. Because Hulk Hogan could get brass knucks, he could get like driven into a ring post, he could it doesn't matter how people cheated. He would just kick out at one and Hulk up and boot and leg and over. Like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that we hit you in the face with brass knuckles. You popped out at one and hulked up and we get it. No, actually, I don't get it. So this reminded me of that. And it's like another average guy that people have gravitated towards, just no selling something and getting up and winning. I can't tell you how much this grinded my gears. I was trying to wait till the middle of the show and let you do but this was like, I wanted to go, hey, welcome to This Is Wrestling. This is absolute crap. That's what I wanted to start the show with. But I waited. But anyway, Zach, nothing bothered me more than this. And the fact that it was LA Knight was just the cherry on top.
Yep.
I have 0.000 Sam Mitchell 000. If you've ever heard the Sam Mitchell clip, it's one of the greatest clips. I have players with the stat line 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I mean, and the I mean at the end is incredible.
It's a great clip.
It's unbelievable.
Awesome clip.
But I have 0, 0, 0 Sam Mitchell wanting to watch LA Knight or the U.S. title or anyone contending for the U.S. title until somebody takes it off of him. 0. Just how I feel, and especially the way he won it like this over Logan Paul in Cleveland. I get it. They make people lose in their hometowns, and Logan Paul's had a nice run. I'm hoping they have something bigger for him, but I thought they made him and Machine Gun Kelly and everyone in Cleveland that was actually probably cheering for him, other than the stupid, dumb fans that cheer for LA Knight that Zach always talks about.
I'm not saying that. People are going to get so mad at me on X, formerly known as Twitter.
No, they should be, because you quite correctly pointed out the juxtaposition between how they treat fans and then how the fans are. I thought it was brilliant.
Great
how you did that. So anyway, LA Knight is we're only 3 matches in. Holy cow.
And there's more on this card.
I know. So we got a new
revving to go.
New United States champion. And we follow it up with Nia Jax.
Yeah.
And she defeats Bayley for the WWE Women's Championship, which is different from the Women's World Championship. Try to follow along with their titles that sound awfully similar, right, but we have to sort of separate them.
Like Cody Rhodes being the undisputed WWE champion, despite the fact that there's a World Heavyweight Championship.
Right.
It's very much disputed, actually, that he's that he is the world champion, but I digress.
All right. There's a lot of things that don't make sense if they're into long-term storytelling on this one. Cool. I hope that they are. Didn't quite get the alliance between the person who has the Money in the Bank contract and helping somebody win a heavyweight championship, when it's quite clear that even without Tiffany Stratton's help, that Nia Jax would be a tougher competitor to beat than Bayley. Not that Bayley's a slouch, but helping somebody win that's going to be a tougher opponent in the future when you are trying to cash something in is, quite frankly, idiotic. And this was a terrible match. With Nia Jax winning in 12 minutes and 30 seconds and beating Bayley. I don't have much to say about this one either, other than I don't understand why Tiffany Stratton is helping Nia Jax when Nia Jax is a stronger champion than Bayley would be if Tiffany Stratton never wants to cash in.
Yeah, this is so stupid.
But if she's setting Nia up to cash it in on her soon and becoming her friend and then surprising her with it because she feels somehow like it's easier to beat Nia than it is Bayley, okay, you're really going to have to tell me the story behind it. I guess I haven't seen it play out yet, but in no way would Nia Jax be an easier opponent to beat than Bayley.
Right.
So
and even then, if you're Nia Jax, you'd be an idiot to partner yourself with somebody who has a chance to cash in on you and win your championship. Like, anyways.
Yeah. If you felt like that was your only friend to be a distraction, so it would help you win, I guess you're focused on the right now. And if somebody's going to actually help you win, maybe you take it.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying as well.
But plus, you've been on this dominant streak. You won a tournament. You beat multiple. Anyways, I'm not even. Who cares? It's Nia Jax. Like, what the?
Okay.
But anyways, so the match itself was just a whole bunch of nothing. Like, just a bunch of nothing. And then finally, they were able to get to a spot where Bayley was doing the power bomb to Nia Jax, carrying her up. That was impressive. The crowd was into it. I'm like, all right, here we go. The energy has changed. They're getting people back. And then what do we get? We got Tippy Time running down the ring and getting involved in the match and just killing off any sort of momentum this match could muster at any point. and then having to do the Nia Jax victory in what was another below average match with why would Tiffany Stratton want to align herself with Nia Jax? Or rather, why would Nia Jax want Tiffy Times help? Okay? Like, it makes no sense. No sense. And again, the match was a bunch of nothing. I remember, again, there was another spot where I believe it was Nia Jax that was thrown into the corner turn post with the shoulder. Again.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was just, it kept going and going and going. This 12 minutes felt like 12 hours watching this match. Oh my Lord.
Okay, but it does say something about Bayley as well, that she's not nearly what she used to be. And that, I think, is going to be, it should be the last time we see Bayley in a role of a major champion.
Yep. And I think they gave the belt to her at Mania because she's been there for a long time, and she hasn't had that WrestleMania moment because they're big on that there. And so they gave the belt to Bayley so that she could have a little run, and then they're getting their stories off here with Nia Jax, which, again, stories. That's also the theme, but they just have to get their quote unquote stories in there. Stories means angles. Stories don't mean storytelling in a match. They mean angles. And all it was just angles. I couldn't get one match where something could be clean. I just wanted something clean at this point, other than Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. But I didn't get that. And so, this night, it was just a nothing match. Just nothing.
Well, what it said to me, and then the streak continued later on, was it was the third match in a row where a championship changed hands. I'm like, if you wonder back in the day, and look, I'm older than you, and I know you have a great history for wrestling, probably more than I do, even in the time I watched it. But I guess my point to you would be, back in the day, and we got away from this certainly in the Attitude Era for me, and we got away from it in wrestling in general, and WCW as well. But championships meant something. And I've told this story before. I was like in grade school, very young, like grade 4, grade 5. Mm-hmm. And when the Macho Man beat Tito Santana for the title, like, it was a big deal. Like, a title changed hands. And when, like, I remember watching WrestleMania 1 when the Iron Sheik, and I love Wyndham and Rotundo. And when the Iron Sheik and Volkov beat them, it was like, oh my God. Like, the titles change hands. Titles mean nothing anymore. And we watch, like, the WWE does I think, a pretty good job, whether you think so or not, at sort of reestablishing people having titles for long periods of time. Roman Reigns has it for a long period of time. Even in AEW, when Jericho gets the title, and then Moxley's got the title, and we had champions that had the title for a while. It's just title switch after title switch after title switch. Like, on the SmackDown before, which we haven't even talked about, the Bloodline did beat Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa for the tag team belts, which is exactly what they went into with a title change before WrestleMania, right? On the SmackDown, or was it before the PLE? Anyway, they've changed titles, like, on the Friday night SmackDown a couple of times before a live event in the same city, almost to give the fans who came out to watch the secondary product something to cheer for. They've gone to PLEs and switched titles to get a pop because it's the women's tag titles, and we need to give them something because everything else is going to play out the script. We got 18 titles, and they're all going to change hands all the time. And it just doesn't mean anything anymore. And I thought the WWE was kind of getting away from it a little bit. Gunther had the Intercontinental title for a very long time. Roman Reigns had the World Heavyweight Championship for a very long time. But I just feel like this was just title change. Well, this one was title change after title change after title change. 3 consecutive matches, 3 consecutive title changes. And it's like, why? But then we get to the only match that didn't have a title on the line. I am looking forward to your take on Drew McIntyre. This is where I'm going to pat myself on the back again and saying I wasn't like, I might have been out of it in a couple of little things here. And I think the match after that we're going to talk about, I might have been a little off course.
A little? Yeah.
That's what I said, Zach. A little. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad.
No, I'm just emphasizing the point.
But in this one, where you told me that CM Punk was building momentum, and I'm like, what momentum? He hasn't had any. He hasn't wrestled. He's going to lose. Well, he did lose.
He lost in more ways than one, yes.
Okay, Seth freaking Rollins, the referee. They did some callbacks to 97 with Shawn Michaels as the referee between Bret Hart and The Undertaker.
Cole practically yelled it in my ear.
Yes,
Shades of 97. I know it's Shades of 97.
No, but not every fan, Zach. Zach, I appreciate this, but when were you born?
I was born in 97.
Okay. So not every fan knows what happened in 97. You have to give people a little bit of credit. Like, that is 27 years ago. It's a long time ago. I'm not going to kill them for giving me like an in-your-face callback and telling you about it and not having that be subtle for something that happened 27 years ago.
It can absolutely be a subtle spot. You don't even have to mention it and just have it be a nice little tip off for the people that have been watching for that long. But anyway, sorry, continue.
But there's another part in here that drove me crazy in this match. It was the match I was looking forward to the most. There's some things I'm worried about, but I do want your take on Drew McIntyre defeating CM Punk by pinfall.
Even if CM Punk won this match, he would have come out looking emasculated here. Oh, this match was really what drove me over the edge when it came to this show. They totally approached all of this so wrong. I'm shocked how off course they took this. I thought the people that were there, that were in the driver's seat of that storyline, would be able to navigate this through. I wasn't expecting blood. I wasn't expecting, an ultra-violent affair, but I thought we were going to get something resembling a heated feud, a heated match, something that's been building for months, and they didn't do that. No, Lee, they had to get their little stories across, because that's how they do. They cannot just be a proper wrestling match. They have to do their little angles. They have to do their little interference spots. They have to do this because that's their version of storytelling. And it's the most basic form of storytelling that just never works, except for this fan base. So this whole match, like, you could feel it. They were building it up. The crowd was into it. They were really trying to milk that opening bell pop, right? The bell finally rings. We're finally going to see these two, get together and have a match. And 2 minutes in, we got a We Want Table spot. And I knew from there, we were just going to have this landslide, this downfall of what I wanted to see in this pro wrestling match. They kept cheering for Seth. They kept making Seth the attention to this when he was not supposed to be the attention of this. This was supposed to be a blood feud. Am I out of base here, Lee? That for the last couple of months, I've been seeing these two go back and forth with each other, trying to get involved in each other's matches, and then having a heated feud, and it was supposed to culminate here at this SummerSlam show. Am I crazy for thinking this?
I actually think they've done a pretty good job at keeping the two apart physically. Now, Punk was hurt, and so that obviously helps with that. But it actually helped the fact that they've stayed away from each other. And I stumbled upon the kickoff show that happened, I think, on the Friday or whatever it was when they bring the people out.
Oh, yes, that would be the Friday. Yes.
And like Drew McIntyre was like, I'm just going to kill you. Like, he actually said those words.
Yep.
Like, he's like, I don't care what I do to you. I don't care what I'm going to maim you. I'm going to hurt you, and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to like take my time and leave you in a pool of blood. And so you are not off base. I actually think they did a pretty good job at leading people up to this without delivering. Like the build up for this particular match, I thought was well done.
Yes, I agree with you on that. It's too bad they just wasted all the goodwill from that in this. And they just, again, there was no energy to this. It felt off. They kept focusing on Seth. They kept focusing on these outside things. And then this damn bracelet, Lee, that they kept focusing on that led to the finish where Punk has gotten McIntyre up on his shoulders and he's just about to do the go to sleep. And of course, commentary is going crazy. Like, we haven't seen this in 11 years, blah, 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 right? Going crazy about this, right? And as they should. And then what does Punk do? He looks at Seth, who had picked up the bracelet from the mat. He's wearing it on his wrist, and Punk puts down McIntyre and says, hey, you have my bracelet. What? This is not the CM Punk character that I watched for the last decade. You think CM Punk would have given a damn about that bracelet? Are you serious? He put down his guy so that he could get mad at Seth, and it cost him the match. I witnessed one of my favorite pro wrestlers get emasculated in front of 50,000 people. I could care less what he does in WWE at this point. That might be an extreme reaction, but I can't believe this is the guy that goes out there and talks about how Bret Hart and Terry Funk are his favorite professional wrestlers of all time. And he goes out there and he does this story. They totally emasculated this guy. And the match was a dud of a match. Just no, there was no central focus other than the bracelet. And when they did get to the central focus, it was just completely wrong of what they should be doing. These guys should have been beating the piss out of each other, and they didn't do any of that. It was your typical spots. You know, this was 17 minutes long, and Seth, of course, not taking this seriously. I'm watching this blood feud, and then there's this guy with his fancy sunglasses and his over-the-top dress costume or whatever, right? Oh my God. This match was when I really was like, oh, okay, we're in a territory here with this show that I'm just gonna, like, these last two matches, I know how one match is gonna go. There's another match that might be able to save it. And it was close, and we'll talk about it. But then, of course, WWE has to tell their little stories. But this Drew McIntyre CM Punk match failed at a spectacular level that I was not expecting, especially with the people that were involved. If their goal here is to try to make Punk look bad because they know that he can't go to the other company, and so he's going to have to play ball, and you're like, you know what? You're not just going to walk back in here and think you could just run the place and be our top guy. You're going to eat crap and like it. Then they did a great job at that. They did a perfect job at that. Because I could care less about what Punk does at this stage. If he goes out on Raw tonight and talks about that damn bracelet, Lee, I don't even know. CM Punk will cease to exist in my mind.
No, that's not true.
It will be like Avengers Endgame when everybody just fades into the distance or whatever.
Well, people will appreciate the fact that I have no idea what you're talking about when you say that.
The comic book fans will appreciate that. I'm not a comic book guy, but nonetheless, this match, I was concerned that maybe Punk wouldn't be able to be at 100%. If it was just a case of Punk, it's just not the same guy. He's older now, and they tried. I would have been, yeah, it's disappointing to see, but you know what? The guy's getting old. He's got a lot of injuries. But now I'm concerned that he's even going to be able to get what his vision of pro wrestling is across. Maybe this is his vision of pro wrestling now. I don't know. But
no, I actually think you hit on something that I think he does have to take a little bit of crap. And I don't even think that that's unfair of the WWE to make him do that. And I think you bring up a good point that it seemed like it. And if that's the case, people have a problem with it. Okay. But sometimes that's what happens. It happens with players coming back to teams. It happens with like all kinds of different ways in sports. It happens. So where I had the biggest, like everything that you said, I was kind of thinking and like, oh boy, Zach's not going to like this. And Zach's not going to like that. And I'm like,
yeah,
so
I hated this.
So I don't need to get fired up about it because I didn't know you're going to be this extreme about it. So I appreciate the fact that you are.
I hated it.
What I hate more than anything is when special guest referees that are the toughest, when you bring in superstars that are like legit top level superstars to be referees. Okay, I don't like the attention either, and it took away, and I agree with all that. Nothing drives me crazier than ref bumps to like legitimate top stars. That all you have to do is ask yourself, if Seth Rollins was in a match and this happened to him, would it be this, like, would he be able to get up? Would he be able to recover? Would he be able to react? Like, would he react the same? He's got a referee shirt on. So suddenly he's like a quarter of the power that he used to be. He's taking like, oh, ref bump. And then Seth Rollins is nowhere to be found for a while. No, like he just got run into. On the first one, he just got run into. If that happened to Seth Rollins in a main event match, he wouldn't have been down for 5 nanoseconds. Put a referee shirt on him, though. He's not quite there to do the count.
No. Something in that referee shirt, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the non-believability part that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
sorry, go ahead.
This is Seth Rollins, and he is supposed to be like one of your top level, and he just got run into accidentally. And nothing really even happened to him. And he's down, nowhere to be found for a while. Like, come on. And then, look, he took a go to sleep and then was able to, I don't know, he was able to get up. But CM Punk took a low blow and a claymore and was out cold. But Seth Rollins took a go to sleep, which is his CM Punk signature. It actually go to sleep even tells you it's going to knock you out. Correct?
Yep.
You're going to sleep.
In the name.
He hits the go to sleep, and Seth Rollins is able to kind of bounce up. If Seth Rollins took a go to sleep in the middle of a match with CM Punk, whether he got pinned or not right there, he'd be out of it for quite a while. But in this case, after he got run into and was down on the mat for like 20 seconds because he just got bumped into, now he takes a go to sleep, and it's about 5 seconds. Now he's up counting. That's incredible resilience after getting knocked down earlier in the match and taking 20 or 30 seconds to get up to make a count when you're a top level performer. But now you take a guy's finisher in his first match back, which in the name go to sleep, and 5 seconds later you're up counting. Okay. All right. You want me to believe this stuff, and
yep.
But it's the right winner. It's the right decision. So in all of that, I was still okay. It's not the way I would have gone about doing it. But
I would hope not.
No, but at least I had the right winner and the right decision where you thought CM Punk should have won or was going to win. And I'm like, I don't understand that at all. Now, again, Zach, that's not Jack Perry, but it's not great. Okay. It's follow along the storyline. Oh, let's get to the next match.
Yeah.
Where pretty much I'm going to have to take the same thing.
Yes.
So Gunther is your new world heavyweight champion after defeating Damian Priest with Finn Balor. That comes down to put Gunther's leg on the rope. And there is some of me that was like, oh boy. Like, not only have they booked Damian Priest this way all the time, which Jack continues to tell me every show.
Yep.
and he's not a strong champion, so he's just going to end up losing in some, way to at least try and save him a little bit, but not make him look good. But in another fact, and I do want you to talk about this match, in another fact, there's some of me that should have seen, okay, if the Judgment Day is breaking up and there is no, Imperium was not great before because Kaiser and I can't remember the other guy's name.
I think it's Giovanni Vinci.
Giovanni, yeah. What they called him was not great under Gunther anyway. It's not like when those guys went into the ring, I believed that they could win. Knowing that Finn Balor and JD McDonough were, I think could be in a new and improved Imperium and help Gunther here and dissolve the Judgment Day, which we thought the Judgment Day was dissolving anyway. I think I should have seen coming. I did not. It feels like this is going to be a new group with Gunther's new Imperium with Finn Balor and JD McDonough, and it's going to be awesome. But again, they got the right winner here, and I was a little bit off. So go ahead, yell at me about Damian Priest, and I was certainly not a Jack Perry moment, but not my best work.
Yeah, no, not one of your finer moments there, Mr. Versage, but
nope.
WWE missing out on their big money-making program, as you laid out with Dom Mysterio and Damian Priest. I mean, a feud that could take us into Lexington, Kentucky and sell 10,000 people. Just a main event in every building we could go with Dom and Damian Priest thrown out the window. Just unbelievable. I think you might have confused Ric Flair with David Flair. I really did. With drawing money. I'm still trying to process that one. But speaking of trying to process, the match was starting and I was still trying to process the match I had watched before and wondering what they had done with CM Punk and this feud, and thinking to myself, this is the best that the company came up with the previous match. I was actually enjoying the match here for a bit. I thought it was building up well. The one thing I'll say about Damian Priest, he's been booked like a geek, and he continued to look like a geek in the finish, which I will talk about in a moment. But he can wrestle for a guy his size, and he could go out there, and if you give him a really good opponent, he could be somebody that can meet that level and be a good wrestler. The
only thing I'll say about that is I actually really agree with you. I hate his finisher.
Yeah, his finisher's not great, but the overall package, the overall in-ring is there.
I agree.
And so I was enjoying this match because it's Gunther, and Gunther knows how to wrestle. And, I remember he said in an interview a while back that his main influence was Stan Hansen. And, that's going to get me fired up when you say that your influence in wrestling is Stan Hansen, because so many times, and look, if that's what got you in the business, great. But we've had so many, like Steve Austin got me in, and The Rock got me in, or, all these top names. To hear somebody say Stan Hansen is really refreshing for me, because that's a guy that more wrestlers need to emulate, is one Stan the Lariat Hansen. Mm-hmm. And so I was enjoying this match. This is my favorite match of the show. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, the finish happened, Lee. Mm-hmm. So they did the big turn with Finn Balor. They had this skit beforehand where Damian Priest was walking to the back, being like, did you know what happened with Dom and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I didn't know. And I guess during the time the show was running, they were able to make up and say, all right, Finn, come out to the ring with me and help me with my match. And so they did the big turn. First of all, Priest does the move, and they're out of the spot. They're out of their spot where they need to execute the angle. Mm-hmm. So Priest pushes Gunther to the ropes, and then he puts in the pin, and then Balor does the foot on the bottom rope. Just, oh my God. So that was bad. It's like, all right, mistimed it, weren't proper in the ring. Fine. That stuff happens. So they do the angle, and Priest is looking, and he's like, what are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And then Gunther puts him into the sleeper hold, right? And I'm thinking, oh, this is it. The match is done. This is how they're going to do this angle. But no, Priest was able to get out of it, does a move, and then for some reason looked across again and saw Finn Balor and started going after Balor again, then got caught in a sleeper again, and then passed out. Oh my God. What was... Can somebody tell me where the Booker of the Year is, please? Somebody. Was he... I would believe you if there was a report that came out that said he wasn't booking that night. I would believe you at this point. Because there's no way that the Booker of the Year could have booked this, okay? So consistently bad throughout the show. All throughout, I've been saying on this show, they made Priest look like the biggest geek of a world champion that didn't belong, and not even the main focus of his group. Every which way, the way he won the belt, the way he's defended the belt has been through dubious means. They can tell you all they want on commentary. Oh, he's been such a great champion. He's had all these title defenses. He's held the belt for this long. When he's done nothing for him. Nothing. I won't hear an argument that it's done anything for Priest. And... You know, I was hearing you on the last show. Oh, he's a company guy. If he was such a company guy, Lee, they wouldn't be treating him like this. They wouldn't book him like a geek like this. And then, of course, Gunther won. No,
hold on. He'll be back.
He'll be featured. Like,
this is bad booking, but this is not, like, his fault. And this, I still maintain. And I watched a couple things he did this weekend off camera. And the guy is, like, one of their absolute main rock stars away from the ring. It's what the Miz turned into after he was like world champion. And then they're like, my God, this guy's amazing on the mic. We're just going to get him on every radio program. We're going to get him. That's what they're still going to do with Damian Priest. I'm telling you this now.
Well, they better book him better. They better. Because look, I've heard he's a great guy. As you mentioned, he's somebody that you could put him out there in the media and the press, and he's great. I'm not denying all of that, but you're gonna have to do better booking if you're gonna convince me that he is a guy to take seriously to be a main event player. And the way that he lost the belt, the way that he's defended the championship, the way that he even won the belt in the first place, is not gonna convince me otherwise. And so,
but that's not his fault. That's the booking's fault.
That's booking's fault for sure.
Yeah,
but. And so now we've got Gunther in. They needed to put the belt on Gunther. Gunther will build that championship. And now he's going to go into the Bash in Berlin or whatever it's called show that's in Germany. And he's going to be the champion. I hope they do Ilya Dragunov. But the way that this show is booked, last thing that they will want to book is an actual good pro wrestling match. So I'm thankful that they put the belt on Gunther. I'm hoping that they'll do something with this World Heavyweight Championship belt. And I'm sure Gunther will put some credence on it. He is the wrestler. I would say he's the best pure in-ring wrestler in the company. So I'm hopeful that he's going to go out there, have some tremendous matches, and I hope he holds that belt for a long time, all the way into Mania. I hope so. But boy, like, I was enjoying the match, and the finish happened, and it just just totally killed my enjoyment. So, all right. Anyways.
Well, again, how they got there and the decision to put it on Gunther is the right decision.
Yep.
So for that, I won't complain. And Gunther being the champion, I think is the right decision. So with all that said, right decision was made. What do we have here? We have Gunther going forward with hopefully some really good decisions being made.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Before we get to that, actually, I was annoyed by the finish, and I'm like, this can't possibly get any worse. This can't possibly get any worse. And then the Miz and R-Truth came out to announce the attendance figures. Then they had to do a segment.
Hold on. Okay, you know what? I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
Because I thought this was awesome.
I hated this.
Yeah, I know you did, because you don't like entertainment. You like
this isn't entertainment.
Hold on. No, this was. So Brad Armstrong wrestling Claudio.
That's entertainment to me.
Right.
Claudio, by the way, winning a #1 contenders match recently on Collision to face off against Okada in the future. So excited for that.
I'm telling you, as a fan, I actually stopped this, rewound it, watched it again. I'm not going to let you rag on what if the boss tells you to go and do something, just go out and do it right. No matter what the boss asks you to do, I am not going to fault the person that goes out and executes it if that's what their boss is telling them to do. And Austin Theory again, and Grayson Waller, but Austin Theory in particular made Jelly Roll look like $1 million. Go back and look at how high that choke slam was and think about, I literally was like, oh my God, wow. Rewound it, paused it, looked at the height of it, and went, that's impressive. Way to go, Austin. You just made that guy look like $1 million. I thought it was cool. I'm a fan of Jelly Roll. I don't need much. I don't want Jelly Roll in a match. But Jelly Roll coming out, didn't love the chair shots, but choke slamming Austin Theory way better than Damian Priest's finisher or any rock bottom that The Rock ever hit. This was like Kane. This was like The Undertaker. This was like 6, 7, 8 feet in the air choke slam. Good for Austin Theory. Good for Jelly Roll. I enjoyed it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I know it's not your thing, but I'm a fan of Jelly Roll. I think Austin Theory made him look great. They had a moment. They did a little John Cena thing, but then they got out.
Yeah.
It wasn't a long segment.
It felt long. It felt like an eternity.
It wasn't.
Watching it live.
Okay,
like,
it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And I was surprised, and I thought it was cool. So
wonderful. I mean, Austin Theory, I mean, he's never getting any higher than this. He's now taking bumps for celebrities. He's not going to be a world champion. I'm happy about that.
Good. Well, I'm just saying he did what the boss asked him to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, I just and then R-Truth did the Ricky and Robert reference that nobody in the building understood. Yeah, I just at that point in the show, Lee, it's 10:20, and I'm like, I don't need this. I know why they're doing this, but I don't need it. Okay,
I get it, and it's fair to say that. I'm just saying I'm a fan of Jelly Roll, and I thought Austin Theory made him look like $1 million. Wonderful. I thought it was a fantastic choke slam, and way better than some other celebrities do. And I was like, good for you.
I hope they got their headlines. I hope they got their press. Very Vince Russo thinking, it's in a headline, blah, 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 whatever. So anyways.
No, there's some form of entertainment. Jelly Roll is like the hottest act in the world. He's like the nicest guy in the world. And they put him in a position to look strong. And he looked strong. He had a really good performance in the ring singing as the opener. And then they made him look good after. And I'm happy about it. I really am. Like, I'm not even joking with you whatsoever. I thought it was like 30 seconds. I know it probably wasn't 30 seconds, but it was a short segment that made him look good. I thought it made Theory look okay. It's kind of their roles, and that's fine. They executed their roles. Way to go. All right, let's talk about Cody Rhodes entering from the bus, picking up his dog, entering into the ring, saying it's the last chance, but not really explaining it why the dog. I didn't love that because I actually love his dog. But Cody Rhodes beats Solo Sikoa. And then again in a match where you are the one that told me we'd see Roman, and we end up seeing Roman Reigns come back and be the reason why Cody wins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thoughts?
This is like I predicted. It was every Bloodline match you've seen in the last couple of years, exemplified by this Bloodline rules match. I've been trying to figure it out all throughout the weekend. Maybe you might have the answer. Can you explain to me the difference between a Bloodline rules match and a tribal combat match? I've been trying to figure out what the difference is between the two. Is tribal combat more of like a street fight?
You have not had a very good weekend. That's that's my analysis of Bloodline rules means no disqualification.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Yeah. And boy, did Solo and Cody have a no disqualification match by having everything in the ring. Yeah, it was exactly what I thought it would be. A couple minutes in, people were chanting for Roman, and I'm like, well, that's not good for them getting invested in the rest of this match. you saw people in the crowd turning their heads to the entranceway, waiting for the run-ins to happen. And, you were mentioning in that intro with Cody talking with Arn Anderson and saying, oh, you got people that will come out and support you. And it was very funny, Lee. I was seeing people hypothesize, who could those people be that would help one Cody Rhodes in this match? Some people were saying Ricky Starks. Some people were saying Daniel Garcia. Is Daniel Garcia a Cody Rhodes guy? Guess who came out, Lee? Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens and
Randy Orton. And Randy Orton, by the way, took his sweet ass time getting to the ring.
And they really needed Arn Anderson to talk to Kevin and Randy, because they wouldn't have come out. I never would have thought we would have seen those two if Arn Anderson didn't go in and have some conversations with them.
You know what? I think it would have to be a bit of a conversation to get Randy Orton booked. Like, I think Orton would be a guy that's like, I don't know if I want to be booked, brother. I don't know if I want to be booked tonight. I want to go home and be with my wife and kids. I don't know. Like, I'm not doing much. So I think there might have been a conversation to try and get Orton out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Orton took his sweet ass time, because that's Randy Orton. Like, he was, high five in the crowd. He's like, hey, guys, it's Cleveland. It's good to see you. It was the classic moment when Jeff Hardy tries to rescue Matt Hardy, but Jeff has to do the celebration with the crowd beforehand while Matt's getting beaten up in the ring. It was similar to that with Randy, where he's just taking his time. He's jogging. He's like, hey, look at the Cleveland. It was, babyface Randy out there. And shockingly, no Daniel Garcia or Ricky Starks coming out to help Cody. Well, what a shock that they would not show up. And so they came in, they cleaned house. Tangaloa blew up his spot again. Again. It's unbelievable how this guy just screws up spots. It's real. Like, we told you on this show, this guy was not good. I shared the video around, and it's not. I had some people saying, "Oh, it's just because you're not a fan of the WWE guys, and you're just trying to put down the significance." And now that Tangaloa has been there, it's like, "Oh yeah, he's not good." Like they avoid putting him in the ring, eh? They actively avoid putting him in the ring. They had Tama Tonga and Tangaloa in there that were a tag team for a decade. And then as soon as Jacob Fatu came in, they've been pairing up Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu, which they should, just for the record, which they should. But it just goes to show that WWE also thinks Tangaloa cannot do great stuff in the ring. He can't even do spots right. Like, they did the spot because, of course, it's a Bloodline Rules match, so everybody has to get involved. Everybody and their mother has to get involved in this. And so Tangaloa, he's trying to take Cody into the corner. He gets in, he tackles him, then he stops for a moment, he hesitates, then he moves forward again, and he misses the corner, and then has to adjust putting Cody in the corner. This guy has blown a low blow spot, a corner spot, a tackle spot. He hasn't even wrestled, and he's blown more spots than some of the wrestlers have had in matches. It's unbelievable. So anyways, they did the interference, they all clean house, then Jacob Fatu comes out and he does the splash, and people were concerned that maybe he legitimately injured his knee. He was selling it really well. I thought maybe he did get hurt. And I was like, oh boy, if Jacob Fatu is injured and he can't go, this storyline is going to be impacted greatly, because the one guy that could go at a high level in the ring might be gone. But fortunately, it looks like he's able to walk it off. He's going to be okay, is the news going around. So thank God that's the case. And of course, Solo and Cody, they had their match, and, it was, I couldn't tell you what was happening. They were exchanging holds. They were performing moves. It was 10:40 at night at this point. They had already had 6 matches beforehand and a lot of filler in between. And then everybody's just waiting for Roman to show up. And then finally Roman's music hit. And, he didn't take as long to get into the ring, but he still took his time. Showed up. I
think you're not giving it credit for how long it was to get to the ring. It was
still on.
Far.
Oh, it was still on. It's just, for a typical Roman Reigns entrance, I actually thought it was quicker than I was expecting, which is still.
No, I'm just saying, like, the gateway, like the actual length of where people entered from where the ring was further, I think, than you're giving it credit for.
Yes, it was a walk. It's just by Roman Reigns entrance standards. How about that?
Yes, he got there pretty quick for his standards.
It was still like 15 minutes or whatever it was, but
yeah.
it was still a lengthy walk. They had the stare down, and then Roman came in and he speared Solo, and Cody won, and now they have their stare down, and whoop-de-doo. It looks like we're gonna get Roman and Cody. Great.
So I did get a couple of text messages about the ending, that it was just like another glorified PLE ending with exactly what you thought was going to happen.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, but if you wanted Roman to come back, how did you think it was going to happen? Like, I'm not going to fault them for this. Solo's not a great performer. Cody's, there's people that thought that he didn't need to, like, he always gets saved and he always has friends around and all that stuff. And it's like, well, Roman had to come back to do this, to set this feud up. I just don't know how anyone expected it to be any different. So I'm not going to fault them for it. Roman got a big pop. Roman, as you said, I think you said something last time that really stuck with me again. It's like, they've taken over 10 years, maybe. I don't know how long it's been. You can tell me how long they've tried to get Roman over as a true baby face. And this was like, okay, they did it. It took them 10 years. But when you watch that show and you watch the pop and you listen to the ooh-ah before the spear, they have themselves two people that are over more than people have been over in a very long time, in Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And so for both of those things, I'm going to give them some credit. They stuck with it. It's been a long time. They didn't give up. John Cena, blah, 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 blah. But they didn't give up, and they finally accomplished the feat of getting Roman over to a level of, like, people really, really, really care about him as a babyface.
It took them running off their audience, a new wrestling company to come in, establish a new audience over that time. But by golly, they were able to finally get him over. So
you know what? They did. Yeah. But they got him over.
They did. He got it. I can't deny it. They got a pop. It's over with this crowd. I saw as I was saying earlier, they just booked for TikTok and Instagram reels, all the reels, the TikTok videos. Oh, I was there when Roman Reigns showed up. I'm sure they were standing with their phones for like 20 minutes, like aiming at the ring, waiting for him to come back out. Their arms might have hurt a little bit, but they got there. So yeah, they got their point. And they've got an over baby face, and again, literally took them through hell and high water, and they, in some cases, just pushing through attrition from your audience, but they got there. And so I guess at the end it was a success, ? I think.
Well, it was a success. It's what they do again from here. It was a success to get him over the way that they accomplished it.
Yep.
And now the two questions are, can you make this bloodline feud interesting for 4 months before War Games? Can you get it over, like, where I'm really interested in what Jimmy and Jay and all those people do? I think it's a long time. I know they do things with a long time, but I think it's a long time. So can they get it over in 4 months? And then the second question again is, what are they doing with Cody, who is still super over? What are they doing with him in the meantime to make him relevant while they focus on the bloodline thing first?
Yep.
So is the bloodline thing that's going to be their first priority? Can they make that interesting? And then what do they do with Cody a little bit underneath? I think those are two big questions coming out. But for this particular ending of a show, I don't know what people wanted to be different from how it ended up being. So I think it's exactly what we thought, but it's exactly what they needed to do. Now, what do they do going forward? And it's something, again, Zach, we're going to find out on our next episode of This Is Wrestling.
Wonderful.
After Monday Night Raw, after SmackDown. And you probably need an hour to calm down.
I've been holding this in for the entirety of the weekend.
Yeah,
ever since
I know,
watched it.
But this has been like an hour and 25 minutes of pure Zach McGibbon gold.
Yeah.
So especially the part where you pick CM Punk saying he would lose. No.
You know what?
I know.
Even if he won, I would have
will...
lost. Even if he won, I would have lost the way that match was going. So
I know, but listen, as a guy who was wrong more than you were, I need to hold on to whatever glimmer of hope that I have, and that was Drew McIntyre for me. So I'm going to hold on to that.
Can I say, I just, the way that we laid it down and laid it out, like this is so bad.
Okay, so I expected a 6 out of 10. You're giving it a fail,
3.
I'm assuming?
A 3.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 3 out of 10.
Okay, but I'm going to remember this and make you watch the Australia show side by side with this tell me that this was worse side by side. If you can do that with a straight face, then I'll believe you. I'm going to give this I'm going to give this a 5.5. It's below what I thought it was going. Like, my expectation was low, and it didn't meet that because I needed a Sami Zayn good match. I didn't get it. I needed not 4 title changes on a 7-match show, and I needed interference on one. Or I needed no interference on more than one of 7 matches. Yeah.
With all the angles on this show, why not just do it on TV? Is my mindset.
Yeah. Like, just your booking reference of their bookers not talking and communicating is probably the best thing. Yeah. That because it looked that way. You got 4 title changes. You got 6 interferences. You got 1 match that had no interference, but was only 5 minutes long.
So overbooked. It was overbooked nonsense.
It was overbooked. Now, you could argue that their other PLEs are underbooked when it comes to let the crowd do it, and we just won't book anything.
And I thought those shows were fine. Like, the thing is, people might be tuning in for the first time and thinking I do this for all the WWE shows. Like, no,
he does, folks. He does.
No, no. The last couple of shows, I'll be like, hey, they're all right. Like, they're not exceptional pay-per-views, but they're not bad pay-per-views. At this point now, after watching this show, I'm just going to call it a pay-per-view because I will not give them an out for a PLE so that they can say, oh, well, you can't put it on a pay-per-view scale because it's a PLE.
No,
you pay for it. You want a good show.
Arguably, it's their 3rd biggest show of the year.
Yes. And I thought it was just a bad show. I'm stunned the amount of people that I clearly am on an island, which is fine, but I thought the lows on this, how about this? The lows on this were harder lows than the Australia show from the matches standpoint. The filler was just unforgivable when it came to the Australia show, but it was largely uneventful. The stuff that they did here was like so damaging that I was just like, this is just a bad show. All right. Like, if you wanted stuff happening, I guess you would have liked it because stuff certainly happened. I won't say it was great stuff that happened, but stuff certainly happened. Again, the Vince Russo philosophy that stuff happened. So
it's a bigger juxtaposition from nothing happening on the other PLEs to way too much happening on this show. So overbooked, I'm going to give it a 5.5, but I'm going to give it a pass because of a couple of big pops and like angles that were supposed to go over, Dom Mysterio and Roman and things that should have happened, and Gunther winning, directions, Drew McIntyre winning, directions that what they should have done, how they got there. Obviously, we've questioned for an hour and a half, but most of the fact that other than LA Knight for me, most at least the direction of who should have won those matches came to fruition. So, again, it's just about how they got there. And obviously we both agree that they didn't get there in the best way. And you are more adamant how bad it was than I was, but I don't think a 5.5 out of 10 is very good. No. I just know a 3 out of 10 is a failure.
It certainly was in my mind.
It was a failure. All right. Well, I hope that you can feel this way for Monday Night Raw. And I feel like we need to continue on with a little bit of WWE action next episode so I can get some more Zach McGibbon like he was today. But folks, for Zach McGibbon, I'm Lee Versage. Thanks again for listening to This Is Wrestling.